Peace, peace, peace. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those who don't know, it's your boy Vic Slain Hope. And I come back with another book review. And today's book review is The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, right? I don't know if I'm saying his name right. But the reason that I read this book was because there's a lot of talk around capitalism, communism, socialism, right? Like, what is the best economic system, structure, blase, blase, blah. But one thing I noticed is that a lot of people have an opinion about capitalism without even reading the works of Karl Marx. So a lot of people really be talking out their ass. And some of y'all might be watching this video. But I encourage you to take the time to read the book. And then there's some people who have read the book who didn't really read the book because they didn't understand the work of Karl Marx. Meaning they probably read the book with that little biased chip in them, you know. So if you read something from a standpoint of you're not open-minded and you're still like biased about what this book might have, then you might not grasp the full message. But anyway, I read the book because I didn't want to be ignorant and talk about certain things that I didn't know about, or I didn't have a really good understanding about it. So that's what made me read the book. So I picked up the book. The book is basically about Karl Marx talking about, you know, he has like a way of going through like the history, right, of like in European countries, how they used to be based on like monarchies, and he breaks down actually like the whole trajectory, like the hierarchy system. And he basically talks about like the feud between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, right? I believe if I'm saying it right. A lot of this stuff is like, another thing I realized is that if you look at most of the revolutionaries in history, they were Marxists, right? They read from Karl Marx. So it kind of like makes sense to me why capitalism fights so hard against communism, right? Why they try to eradicate even the idea. A lot of y'all don't even know that in the 70s, in the 80s, right, there was a big crackdown in the United States about people reading from Karl Marx, or people who might have been communists, right? There was a whole big thing they were doing. They were jailing people. They were probably killing people. They was exiling people. They was doing a whole bunch of stuff. And a lot of the people in the Black Panther Party were Marxists, not just in the Black Panther Party. Che Guevara, people in the Algerian, and people around the world that believed in revolution believed in Karl Marx ideologies, right? So maybe there's something there. So I read it. The book is basically about, like I said, it's just the trajectory. It's just about this fight, right, between the poor and the rich. You know what I'm saying? Summarizing it. And he predicted that the world will go from capitalism to socialism to eventually communism. So this is like a prediction that he had. I don't know if the capitalist empire got scared at one point, because I felt like when a lot of countries were becoming communist, capitalist armies were fighting so damn hard against communism. For what reason? I don't know. You know, but I just know, like, every time I notice that certain people fight so hard against another group of people, like, I feel like, why do you feel like they're a threat? Like, why do you feel like there's a problem there? Why do you feel like you have to go suppress what's going on here, right? Like, kind of like when America invades countries and they claim they doing it because they trying to help the people, they care about the people. It's just like, I'll be like, something just doesn't sit well with me about this. So the book is a very good book. I'm probably doing a bad representation of explaining the book, but the book talks about that. It talks about basically, you know, the rest of the world versus the 1%, right? The people who own the means to productions, right? How it's privatized. For example, we dealt with this pandemic and stuff, right? And guess what? Some of the companies that were producing masks, right, was private companies. How is it that something that is needed, right, that the general population needs, how is it that is privatized and only maybe one person owns it, or maybe just two people own it, or three, right? That doesn't make sense. So Karl Marx basically was saying that, how is it that things that the social people need, right? How is it that things in society that, you know, the society needs, right, in order to move forward, like transportation, for example, MTA, right, is a private corporation. It's not something that belongs to the people, right? Like, and that's transportation. That's stuff that people use every day, right? hospitals equipments, right? Ventilators. Like, it was a whole big issue around ventilators, right? Why is that something that private companies make? If you look at the military weapons, right? The United States does not produce weapons. They buy weapons from private contractors, right? These are private companies who make jets, fighter jets, who make bombs, who make guns. This is private companies that make these things. So this is kind of like some of the things that breaks down, that Karl Marx kind of like breaks down in the book. What I basically got from the book was how capitalist America and the rest of the Western world kind of influence you, teaches you in the capitalist schooling structure to hate communism, right? They teach you things in a way about communism that you will grow to dislike it. You will grow to disdain it, right? Kind of like the same way they talk to you about Islam, right? It's a predominantly Christian country, and the messages that they give you about Islam is not the accurate messages, right? Because in reality, they really fear Islam, right? They know people are converting to Islam in big waves. It's the fastest growing religion, especially in the West. So it's the same thing with communism. They teach you the bad things. They show you the bad images. They show you the failures of communism. But people never discuss the failures of capitalism. You know, Fidel Castro said this one time at the United Nations, right? He said, y'all so busy, or y'all so quick to talk about the failures of communism. Y'all so quick to talk about the ills of communism. But let's talk about the ills of capitalism. Let's talk about what capitalism has done to Africa. Let's talk about what capitalism has done to the so-called third world countries, right? In which capitalist countries have sweatshops because they make profit out of it, right? Let's talk about why capitalist America moved a lot of their manufacturing companies overseas, right? Because it's cheap labor, right? Because you could pay people cents. You know, your dollar is worth more money. The euro is worth more money than the currencies in these other countries where you have your sweatshops, right? So you could pay people less money and then you can make more profits, right? For example, in China, right, it might cost like $10 to make a PlayStation. And then you bring it here and you sell it for $500. You know what I'm saying? Jordans are made like what, in Indonesia, or Malaysia or Vietnam, right? A lot of these companies have sweatshops all over these countries, right? All over these countries. And this is capitalism. And people are okay with this. People are okay with people working in messed up conditions. People are okay because they believe capitalism is the way. So anyway, I will encourage people to kind of like really look into it, really look into the work of Karl Marx and see what he was talking about. Don't sit here and dwell on what happened in Russia, what happened in Germany, what happened in some of these countries, right? Because look at Cuba. People talk all this shit about Cuba, but people don't realize that Cuba, the only reason Cuba is so fucked up is because America and the capitalist world placed an embargo on Cuba because they wanted to rule their country with communism. What sense does that make? Like, why are you so mad that I want to rule my island, my country, with under the communist economic structure? Like, what does that matter to you? Why is that a problem to you? This is the thing that people don't look into. Like, why do you have a beef on how people rule their countries? Why are you invading their lands? Why are you waging war? War costs money. Like, why are you investing millions, billions of dollars in war to go so-called fight against communism, the fight against communism? That doesn't make sense. But a lot of people are not going to get it. You know what I'm saying? That's dumb. But let me tell you something. If you black, let me tell you something. The whole reason of the black enslavement or African enslavement, it was about cheap labor. It's about communism. It's about capitalism. It's about how can we make the most money? How can we capitalize? How can we make the most money? You know, the African slaves, they was able to work longer. They was able to work them harder. And they started taking them for free. So now you got free workers. You don't got to pay them. And they're going to last long. Come on. You know what I'm saying? So for black people that think you're going to be free under the capitalist structure, you're never going to be free because capitalism still views you as property. Capitalism still views you as property of the state. You belong to the state. So, you know, you create minimum wage. I think minimum wage is about your rights. No, minimum wage is about how do I give you the bare minimum to keep you alive so you can keep coming back to work to make me rich. It only makes a few rich. People don't get rich of working minimum wage jobs. You know what I'm saying? People don't get, but this is the ideology of capitalism schooling in America and in the West. But you slowly tend to see like countries in Europe, they applying certain socialist concepts, right? And the whole goal of socialism is to get to communism. You know, so, but Karl Marx breaks that down way better than me in the book. And this is just how I plan on implementing it. I just tell people like, yo, before you sit here and talk shit about communism, go read the works of Karl Marx, man. Don't sit here and run your mouth, because at the end of the day, you was educated by the capitalists. The capitalists educated you. So how can you sit here and talk about communism? So hopefully I did a good job. I'm pretty sure some stuff I left out or I forgot to mention, and I probably did a disservice. But this is a great book, and it definitely has changed my mindset about what it means for black people to actually get liberation, because it's not going to come under capitalism. I think we need to have a social revolution in order for all of us to really be free. You know, so because I believe capitalism came before racism, and now they go hand in hand. But let me know what y'all think. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and let me know what's up. Peace. Y'all be safe.